Birds flying high. Sun in the sky, sun in the sky. You know how I feel. Birds flying high. Breeze drifting on by. You know how I feel. Birds flying high. Sun in the sky, sun in the sky. You know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day. It's a new life for me. Yeah, it's a new dawn, it's a new life for me.
So about a month ago, I was asked by the Oregon Council of Trout Unlimited, of which I'm a sitting board member as the council secretary, to kind of help explain online engagement, best practices for social media engagement, ads, and kind of what all that means, how it all works, and what can we do better as nonprofit organizations focused on the conservation of natural resources and engaging the future, the next generation of people to preserve and conserve and to help protect those areas. And sure, why not? I mean, I guess for whatever reason, I'm considered an expert in that now. But let's talk about that for a second. So here's the bottom line. You know, not really the bottom line, but here's some numbers for you to just chew on for a second. Most of you that know advertising and marketing know it's all about conversion. It's about impression rates. It's about engagement rates. It's about those raw numbers at the end of the day. If you can't do the numbers and you can't prove yourself in those numbers, it doesn't matter. So here's the numbers. As many as 25,000 people a week actually see what it is that I put out there through the TroutBus, through my personal page on Facebook, through LinkedIn, through all the different social media channels, using all the different identities that I have. It's pretty good. I mean, it averages between 17 and 20,000, right in there somewhere. Out of that, it's usually between about 3,000 to 7,000 people that actually engage with it per week. Engaging with it. What does that mean? It means actually liking it, reposting it, commenting on it, sharing it, all of that aspects of actually taking the time to physically interact with that in some way, shape, or form. So you take those numbers and then you kind of go to the next level, which is the conversion rate, which is important for every business, for every organization out there. You want to know how that's converting. And honest truth is when I ask people to do something, I convert at 10%. You know, I get people to go to a website. I get people to contact a legislator. I get people to buy a sticker on public land sprout. If I ask them to do it, they usually will do it, or at least a good portion of them, 10%. And that 10% number is kind of unheard of, right? For those of you that know the numbers, you get 2 to 5% usually. How is it possible for me, just one little dude, living in Bend, Oregon, driving around in a van, trying to live on the river as much as I possibly can, how is it that I have that kind of impression rate, that kind of interactivity rate, that kind of conversion rate? Well, it took me a couple of weeks of tossing around in the back of my head and trying to figure that out for me to come up with, I think, a pretty clever analogy of how it actually worked and how it actually works. So the history of social media, as far as I can tell, I mean, it really kind of gained traction 2004 to 2006 with the advent of Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all those early 2000 companies that really became public and that really started to gain traction within the human environment and creating engagement inside those areas by people being able to talk to each other across long distances that may not see each other as frequently as they like, giving them an opportunity for the internet to serve as a surrogate for communication rather than one-on-one, face-to-face communications. So that being said, That makes this technology less than 20 years old. That makes this media less than that. It makes any kind of demographic breakdown, any kind of market research on it really finite. I mean, we're talking, 10 to 20 years worth of this actually being available. So there was an evening, I was sleeping, woke up at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and it came to me, and that was the evening of, I don't know, a couple weeks back. I don't know what the date was. Who really cares? But I woke up in the middle of the night, and it just kind of hit me in a flash, and I laughed myself back to sleep. And what I used as an example when I did the presentation in front of 10, 15 TU national staff and chapter leaders and council leaders that day was I put them through a visualization exercise to kind of explain the method to my madness and how it is that I was able to actually generate that kind of audience at the end of the day. So we're going to do that right now. Now I want everybody to just close your eyes and imagine that you're in your office, because you probably are while you're watching this, in an office, in an elevator, on an airplane, whatever the case may be. It's a confined space. It has a certain odor. It has a certain sound. It has a certain vibe to it at the end of the day. And I want you to just imagine yourself there right now, sitting at your desk or sitting in front of your computer. And what I want you to do is imagine that somebody just opened a door and the smell of fresh baked bread just flooded that entire area. Now, most of you just smiled, and it brought up a memory, or it brought up a feeling, or it brought up an emotion. It triggered a response. You're sitting in this stale office space, and all of a sudden the smell of fresh baked bread wafts in there. Now, what happens is, for hours, for days, perhaps weeks afterward, you're going to talk about that experience. And the frequency at which that person brings in that loaf of fresh baked bread into that space will establish a relationship with those of you that like the smell of fresh baked bread. Now, you're going to want to get a slice of that bread. You're going to want to learn about how it was made. You're going to want to know the recipe. You're going to want to know about the person that made it. And you've developed this relationship with that person. Why? Because it's something that brought you joy. It's something that you liked. It's something that just makes you feel good, right? So that's an important part of it. The frequency at which you deliver fresh baked bread to an audience is extremely important. But it only gets you so far. It only takes you to a certain point. And there's a flip side to it, and that's how do you set it in concrete? How do you set that relationship in concrete, and how do you get that trust in that relationship with that person moving forward? So here's the second part. The second part is, and I want you to go back to that place, that office space, that elevator, that airplane, that confined space, and I want you to remove the smell of fresh baked bread from your mind. Somebody just ripped a face-melting fart. I mean, I'm talking a total stinker. This is something like people are looking for the emergency exits to get out of that space because, oh my God, I can't believe that came out of a human being. What the hell just happened? You just destroyed everything that was going on in this space with that odor. Why is that important? Well, it's important because the person that brought you that fresh baked bread, if that person that brought you fresh baked bread for days, for weeks, a couple of times a day, whatever it was, finds out who did that and calls them out for doing it, that person now has gained your trust because they were willing to stand up and call it like it is. Dude, you farted in the elevator and it was horrendous. And the person that's saying it is the person that brought the fresh baked bread. That's you, right? So, again, you're bringing fresh baked bread all the time, and people like you, and people trust you, and they engage with you on those aspects of it. And then when you stand up and you call somebody out for farting in the elevator, those same people that have trusted you with that fresh baked bread for days and weeks and hours now they go, this person was willing to stand up for something. This person was willing to stand up and call it like it was and go, that was gnarly, that was gross, that was a huge mistake on your part. If it was an accident, accidentally farted, come on, man. Everybody can feel a fart coming out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how that works and how it has worked in social media. I'm going to give you two examples. The first example is going to be kind of in that conservation outdoors arena. Our boy Chavez over in Utah. I'm an outdoorsman. I'm a representative of this state. I love the outdoors. I take my family hiking and fishing and camping out in the back country, and I love it, I love it, I love it, I love it. I love that I'm from Utah and I can go do those things. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go ahead and slide this bill into Congress real quick and see if anybody notices that I think it'd be appropriate for us to start selling off public lands. Whoa, whoa, dude. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You just farted in the elevator. What happened was he put that out there, and people caught wind of it, and it was a stinker. You know what? It was a real stinker. What happened was within 24 to 48 hours of him proposing that, his social media feeds blew up, his email blew up, his phone blew up on his cell phone and his office. People from around the country, tens and hundreds of thousands of people that aren't even living in Utah, that aren't even part of his base of voters, called him out and said, dude, you farted in the elevator. How are you going to call yourself a lover of the outdoors in the backcountry and going out there and hunting and fishing and hiking and camping with your family, and then you want to sell it off? Dude, you farted in the elevator. It took literally like 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, for him to raise his hand, say, you know what, my bad, I farted, that was me, I did it. I'm going to go over to the committee chair real quick and I'm going to go kill that bill. Sorry. So he's basically trying to spray some Lysol on that fart. He's going to go over there and he's going to fix the problem. Good on you, dude. Good for doing that. You know, we're all better for you doing that, for you taking the time to correct that action. And people will respect you for admitting that you farted. That's all you did. That's all you did. And you fixed it. And people will respect you for that. So that's example number one. Another example, the outdoor industry, outdoor recreation industry as a whole, right? We've got, 300 million active outdoorsmen, the people that are enjoying access to public spaces, whether those are parks, whether those are national parks, state parks, city parks, whatever it is. There's literally hundreds of millions of people that enjoy those, and they spend $6.5 billion a year on going out and engaging in that activity in some way, shape, or form. Now, whether it's hunting, whether it's fishing, whether it's camping, whether it's mountain biking, whether it's kayaking, whether it's rafting, whether it's bird watching, there's just the gamut of everything going on in the outdoors that is part of it. You know, fishing and hunting, you look at it as a big line, right? And you go hunting and fishing's way over here. It's a little bit. The bulk of it is all these other activities, rock climbing, all this other stuff that's out there for people to do and to go enjoy in the outdoors. So, one of the largest outdoor retail events that happens in the country every year is Outdoor Retailer. And when legislation started to get proposed at the state level for selling off of public lands in the state of Utah, what happened? A couple of large companies, a couple of large manufacturers and gear-oriented businesses that their audience is the outdoors and the gear that they sell is to go into the outdoors, got together and said, that's a fart in the elevator. You guys want our money, all the money that we're bringing to your community, however many times a year. You want us to take all of our audience and bring them there and spend millions and millions of dollars in your community to have this trade show that promotes the outdoors, that promotes our businesses that are geared directly towards the outdoors. And you want us to bring all of that money into your community when you're actively going about selling off the public lands and the areas that people are going to use our gear in? That makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And they got called out on it. They got called out on it in print. They got called out on it on television, on radio, and through social media. They got called on. And what happened? You know what? We're going to go ahead and just rejigger our contract a little bit with you. And you know what? If that's the direction that your state wants to go, we're out. We're going to go to a state that's not introducing legislation like that. We're going to take a stand as an industry and say, access to public lands and being able to enjoy the outdoors is important to us, and then it's important to our audience, it's important to our customers, and it's not important to you. So why should we support you? I'm not really giving anything away. I think there's a lot of people out there that have figured it out. I think there's some people that do it better than others, and I think some people fail miserably at it. So the whole point of doing this was just to give what I've experienced to you to help you do it better. So since I basically do all this stuff on my own dime, I mean, I've gotten some support from a little bit of, you know, $100 here, $100 there, $10 there, $5 there, from individuals, from businesses. People have asked, well, why aren't you out there on the road still? Why aren't you out there, you know, chasing down all this stuff? And how come you're not over there? And, you know, what's going on over here? And all those things that you've been doing for years and years, you know, the past few years, as far as going out and supporting all these organizations and talking about it and going and sharing those experiences with us. You know, that's really why we like you. That's really why we started following you. That's really why, you know, we continue to follow you up to this day. And bottom line is money. I mean, I'm not going to if, and, or but about it. You know, most of the stuff that I do is all self-funded. You know, whether it's, you know, buying cameras, whether it's buying a drone, whether it's this, that, or the other, that all comes out of my pocket at the end of the day. The video editing, the software, the gas it takes, the dog food, you know, my food for that matter, it all comes out of my pocket. So the reason why, you know, I don't have a big plan for this year and the big, you know, tour that I plan on going on is primarily because I had to get a regular job. I had to get a day job. I spent all the money that I had saved up. And, you know, nobody's, you know, beating down my door or emailing me or calling me saying, hey, you know what, I really like the concept of what it is that you're doing. How can I help? You know, I've got this angel investor, or maybe we should start you know, a fund to keep you on the road, to keep you doing this. And we'll sell merch and we'll do this, that, and the other. You know, nobody's calling, nobody's asking those questions. And it's not a bad thing. You know, I'm not trying to make that a negative thing. I'm not trying to say people don't care, because you do. People do care, period. You know, I don't argue that at all. People love that about me. I just do it all on my own. But I got finite resources. I got finite money, you know. So what that fundamentally means is this. This is new. This is still new. It's ever developing. It's ever changing. It changes every 4 to 6 months. New metrics, new methods of tracking, all those things. So anybody, including myself, and I don't consider myself an expert in this, but anybody that tells you that they're an expert in it and that they've been doing it for years and I know what I'm doing and I went to school for this, that, and the other, blah, 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 this is still too new. There's no such thing as an expert in something that's only been around for a decade. Like, how are you going to be an expert in something that's constantly evolving? Only thing that you can do is just, in your mind, create best practices when using it. Same thing can be said in television advertising. Same thing can be said in print advertising, any kind of advertising or marketing. It's all basically the same. It's about impressions, it's about reach, and it's about conversion, period. End of story. And I've been able to do pretty good with that. What I have learned is that if you're out there bitching and complaining too much and you're saying about how everything's horrible, people are going to start turning you off. Why? Because they don't want bad news. Nobody likes bad news. They want good news. And, you know, they get enough bad news from regular media. This media, they want to see pretty pictures. They want to see pictures of fish. They want to see pictures of clouds. They want to see pictures of landscapes. They want to see pictures of the great outdoors that inspire them, that make them feel good, that make them want to go out there and do those things. So for those of you that I have helped along the way, I hope that helps. For those of you that have actively asked me to, well, how do I do this? How do I do what it is that you do? How can I get something like that started here? You just got to have a passion for it, and you got to be willing to sacrifice for it, and you got to be willing to spend your own money, because there's not a lot of money out there to do this in the first place. If there was, trust me, hopefully I would have found it by now.